Board meeting. We'll begin with a roll call. Mr. Montoya. Mr. Stoll.
I'm present.
Ms. Aspis. Ms. Haskey.
I'm here.
And I'm here. That's 4. We have a quorum. We'll begin with a prayer and a blessing.
Okay. Yada di Nilchi, bow our heads. Kode hujon dole no sta shema yadel kil shetka nlini kode hujon dole lot ekon zil nashchin sisna jena sotzil dok osli de bensa zil na otil hijit joli kode hujon dole lot ekon dien de ne danotlini sheche hash eltki sheche hash ewan na dal kaiski na dal suit et kadedin ski alt ani at et kodo ni yajan ke we in shlon so doesn't be hadeste kwa ke has anigi ado ultra ka hotzogi binach konde ki kaiseligi ikidne ka alchine binach kwa jo e hasil so nan nishullo ade o ado not ani nes what that ultra igi jo e kwa e hasil so in the hot e o hahol jish binach konde e iskene kaiho hahol jish do ni na tin e bego ist enel yado ist edil nil binach nasko ne nijit naka alchine bilnane katolel bindi yad eko kon bitsist kaho biketl ato bitsit agent bi nego na bitzil dolel ye haol ni dolel ye naso in sakes dolel binach kon yad eho e chedo gal yad eho ba ultra iki kon den nana ne dolel kon asana dolel astui dolel adon khando dal khando kha kwa ala yika doja kut aba hasti dolel na alchinen lini ado kwa al hikaigi alanj kon laganan khata sataigi ado kon alkilin del nishigi kwa yat eho nada dil nil yat eho na alchine bin yeit inigi e kwa anana dolel kuda hasti dolel kuda so de sin dolel konde hojona hasli hojona hasli hojona hasli hojona hasli.
Thank you. I see there's something down here that I've never seen here before. It says norms.
Sharon, can you please put up our presentation? And Sharon, we're on slide 4. Would you like me to just read them, Vice President?
If that's what you're supposed to do.
So this slide is titled Setting Intentions for a Productive Meeting. Your participation and input are very important. Please silence your cell phones. If you have questions or comments, please wait to the end of the presentation. During presentations, please focus your attention on the presenters. You will have some sheets at the front desk that you can use to take notes if you need them. There are also some policies that we're going to go over at the sign-in desk as well. Please write your questions, comments on the provided green question comment, and then we will collect them. If you choose to give verbal questions and comments during that time slot, we are asking that we try to keep those comments to about 5 minutes each so that we can have lots of folks give their comments and feedback. Other questions, comments that do not relate to the topic of this special meeting are important. We are asking, however, that you write those down and we will gather them and then address them separately. Please also remember that specific personnel-related concerns or questions or issues related to ongoing legal matters can't be addressed in this setting and will need to be addressed offline. And with that, that is the conclusion of our norms, Vice President.
Thank you. We'll move on to reports. And first on that list is description of events with timeline. ICO Nathan Bradley and Kevin Keeswood.
Yat A.
Elvin Keeswood, excuse me.
Yat A. Shik Ado Shidana. She Ya Bit Anin Shlira Tratna Sahni Bashish Chin Kilichi Ni Dashiche. Ashin Dashanala Ado Tsalichi Das Kana Holieda A Nasha Ado Intercultural Community Outreach Aya Adishanash Insan Ado Adet Da Isanol Agi Alto Yat A. Good evening, President, Vice President, Secretary, and board members, and Superintendent Mr. Carlson. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here this evening at this special board meeting for some very important and critical information that will be communicated and shared with you this evening. So I'm here with some of our ICO, Intercultural Community Outreach staff members. Here with us, we have our bilingual coordinator, Ms. Cheryl Benali, our Navajo instructional coach, Mr. Nathan Brady, our equity council supervisor, Mr. Donovan Russell, and then our safety net coordinator, Dr. Elfrida Harvey, and our community schools coordinator, Mr. Eric Gale. And then we have Mia Cientes, who's walking in right now. She's our JOM supervisor. And we do have other staff members from ICO, but they're not here. So I thank you all for being here. The first thing on the agenda is to provide some information titled Timeline of Events that have occurred. Ado shikado shidana adat taisanol agi dia I ani biye kon ahi kaigi hashin sogo kodo intercultural community outreach oliedo eya hanna enkich delna doles di the moya da at the hot in the Shiprock High School je eya benya kunde ahilwanidlo ado bayado tieto net netjit o do anada do nesigi e benya kun ahilwanidlo eshi alaji is zohagi e alke the hot in the ginkich isjana alne dolal. Sida a large di kodo intercultural community outreach olieda eya alchina a large ba nsikesti nihia ol ba ol nihizado bezad adena nilije akwa ado na antien holodo sila ako the nabazan den tinigi sto ado lato belendelnish do na kai bazan den tinigi hot oya eya alto laton kinanish del ako bi do nihye the nani tlenigi nihina antien holo adena bina antien olehegi ako khashin sogon khalchina ahon shein de ben natanitchen ado lato baya deltke do kwa ultra hodzo beschas anigi ako benache alto beso naha inda dit di dat di chine betsen ishliji dan leni do adenen leni akhot beso betche da dit ako bi yeto na kigo hot bi anal di khada hot ho khada khit ego da ho ado atso dizen atol nilje hot akwa egi hastwi do chuda do ligi hot beso babi natso do beja endal ako hollo ado di a large not ani dan lingi ultra and has anigi johas trans ada ultra hollo benat ani dan lini sta bit istan endal hot ya beso hollo ntabetni ako benache ya belbada hozen do hol jisten ya hashin sogo adequishi hot chutayos abeba ultra has anigi ako ba hehuinzen hala ultra has anigi chine da ultra do bensikes ako da holo benina bada hastike sta benina hada hot ho hoda hot di nihye ne ol inligi jo tenani dlenige large so dizen ado sin halon ado bi do at na antinigi be dahara ako belch edal hot holon do kodo be aka nature ako benaja alta a large hot bankit johadish ako benaja di bahat ni nagi lato benaja nkilbaho zendo lalti alke da hot digi do hunzaho holjishigi ako hot large ba johadish
Okay, Ashanala, thank you for your explanation. This here, the sheet that we came up with, we met on it several times, and to make sure that we got the correct information out to the public to ensure that the communication that started was properly documented. So on Wednesday, November 19th, around 12:45 in the afternoon, the administration at Shiprock High School was notified via a parent phone call indicating that a teacher had a human skull in the classroom. So at that moment, the principal immediately went to the classroom, and instead of announcing it in the class, took the teacher out to the hallway and asked and verified that there was, and and she confirmed that the allegation of being there was accurate. So through that, after that bell rang, the item in question was immediately removed from the building. The principal then and the assistant principal went over to my brother seated here, Mr. Elvin Keeswood. He's a heritage language teacher there at Shiprock High School, and asked him for guidance on how to handle a situation like this. So that's how it started flowing. Around about 12:50, it was recommended that a traditional cleansing needed to happen, and it needed to be performed immediately rather than hold off on it. Throughout that afternoon, the heritage language teacher and myself, we communicated several times via phone call and text messages, asking or gathering the knowledge that we have to assure that, okay, what is the proper protocol? What do we need to do? As we got the ICO, Dr. Berlinda Begay, involved as well. And we communicated this to make sure that we had a proper understanding to get this cleansing type of ceremony conducted immediately. So through that, I mean, it was a last minute type of ordeal in order to get a medicine man, a traditional practitioner in as soon as we can. It's at times literally impossible for something to happen immediately. But we were able to find a gentleman, and he agreed that it needed to be done immediately. So that evening, we did communicate, and we got Mr. Deswood involved, Mr. Carlson involved, the assistant principal, Ms. Shepard, and the principal, Ms. Gallagher. We all got them involved, so everybody was on the same text messages, same phone call, as we made these directives to make sure that this was to get done. The following morning, Mr. Keeswood and myself, we met the medicine man there at the high school, and we performed the first part of the cleansing ceremony. And we walked through the building, and were able to, with the three of us, help get the cleansing conducted. The principal, at the time, she was out that day, but Ms. Shepard and Ms. Walter were there, to where they helped us, and we were able to get into the rooms and get into that hallway. We did around about 7:44 that morning. We did like an all clear, so the doors were opened back up, and the students were allowed to come back in. The staff was allowed to come back in. Yes, at that time there was a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainties at the time, but we did our best with the two of us and the administration there at the high school to answer these questions and to give guidance as to what could happen, what would be the next stages that could be done. With that said, the medicine man that did perform this, he did recommend that a proper cleansing of the whole entire building needed to happen. And it needed to happen when no one was there. So we agreed that since school ended on Friday, on Saturday morning, and that was the proper time to do it before the sun came up, would be to get back into the building and do a thorough walkthrough. And so that started early Saturday morning and completed around about 9 o'clock that morning. So there was two ceremonies that were taken care of. We did have phone calls regarding that week, even that day on Wednesday, about what else needs to be done. There was various people that had input about, okay, you're basically saying you're not, from a parent saying you're not doing it the right way, you need to do it this way. There was other parents that had called and said that their kids were already affected by this type of ceremony, by this type of incident, and they had the ceremony done. How would the district, the high school, be able to assist in that if they were going to go back in, because they were affected once again with this item being brought back into the classroom? We did answer a bunch of questions, and then got back together with Dr. Begay during the break, and we sat down roughly a good 3 hours as we knocked out some of these scenarios to see how, as a district, we could come together and what would be our stance to come back if there's questions asked. We came back and we did that. Yesterday evening, we did again get back in with our group messaging and made some directives to say, okay, you're going to be here, you're going to be over there, and we made sure that we were present. We had a presence there from the ICO department and with Mr. Keeswood, and with the high school principal as she was there, and the assistant principal. They were both there as we greeted the students, and we gave them that option if they wanted to partake in the traditional herbs that was provided for them. They could utilize that, or if they wanted to, then they could just pass. I would say roughly about 80%, 85% of the students that came through the front door, the north doors, participated in this, with the blessing of the herbs and drinking it and then blessing themselves. Around about 85%. Around about 50% of the staff participated in this as well. And we had even several Anglo teachers that stopped by to take it. A couple of Filipino teachers came back after walking through, came back and took part in this little cleansing with the herbs. So we had a good turnout this morning, and students were well aware of what had happened. So it was like an additional cleansing for them. It was sort of another step that they can, like a healing process for them to go back into the classroom. And we saw a lot of smiling faces. We saw a lot of cheerful attitudes from the students as they walked back in. We didn't hear no gripe, nothing like that, no confusion. We did have maybe 6 or 7 parents that did bring their students to the front of the door, and the parents also took part in this as they were able to take some of the herbs and they drank it and they blessed themselves with it too. So it wasn't just the students, the parents got involved as well. And we made sure that each one of them had that opportunity to stop by. We didn't rush them through. We allowed them to take their time and to do it on their own and do it in their own timely manner. So that's what we did today as a protocol that we discussed, coming from the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and with the ICO members here, how we said, okay, this is something else that we can provide for the students. So it was a welcome sight to see smiling faces to come through the door as they partook in this little traditional cleansing, an additional little cleansing that herbs that they could take. And we explained to them what type of herbs it was, and also with some of them that wanted to know, Dr. Brady or Mr. Keeswood or myself, we took time to explain how to properly utilize this herb. And so they were able to get that little bit of education as well. And so that was a time frame of what we have put on here. This other part, as far as the recommendations, I believe that will be Dr. Brady that will start that off again.
Good evening again, everybody, relatives. So first and foremost, our children, the students were our first thought when we started this process immediately once we got the information. And so all the way up to here, since this morning, that was our intent, to ensure that our children were our first thought to get this situated and resolved. And so based on this incident, we came up with some recommendations from ICO, and some of these have been ongoing with previous incidents as well. And so I'll provide the information for that too. So as I shared earlier in my language about ICO, I take care of, implement, manage with the help of my two colleagues, Mia and Donovan. We take care of the Indian education grants. And so in that, there's 2 grants where we write holistic services into the grants. And so we communicate that information to the principals as well, that there's funding to utilize holistic services for their schools. And so about 5 schools have already utilized those services for incidences. And then even at the admin level, at the school level, we've had some events, sad events with deaths, and then even with our own staff members too, where we utilize those to help bring ease and balance and wellness back into our minds and our hearts and our mental and emotional parts of ourselves that get affected from these type of things. And so as Indigenous people, as Dene people, that's what we strive for, and that's why these holistic services were given to us, and they still exist today for the very purpose to provide that wellness and balance of our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual part of ourselves as Dene people. And so because of that, these holistic services serve in that capacity. And in that, we, through these schools that did individual holistic services, we have medicine men that do like a diagnosis first to kind of give us an idea of maybe a situation. And then based on that, there's like a prescription in terms of like a prayer or a song. And so through that, we found that 2 schools here in the district, there's probably more, I don't know, I've only been here in this district for 15 years, but I'm not from the community, so maybe community members have this information, but it was found that 2 schools had funerals inside the schools. They brought the body into the schools. So as the Net people, death is, it's not a taboo. Taboo is like a Western term. So the way we look at it is we have checks and balances in our way of life. And so death is part of a process, but the way we look at it is we respect that, okay, it's no longer here, so therefore that's how we look at it. But when you associate with death, like attending funerals or whatnot, you're supposed to balance that back out with using these herbs that we used this morning to balance yourself back out, to cleanse yourself with attending a funeral, because there's a lot of that death is all around you. You're among people, you go there, you look at it. And so to undo that, that's where these holistic services come in, our ways. And so that's how we take care of ourselves, to make sure our mental and emotional, physical, and spiritual part of ourselves are always in balance. And so with that, one of our recommendations, which is the number 1 part of our recommendation, is that we need to have, no.
Dr. Begay, I don't want to interrupt you, but are we on B? Have we reviewed the Regalia?
No, we're still,
Okay, are we still on A, which is description of events and timeline? Okay, so one is gonna lead up, and there's
Yeah.
gonna definitely be a break where we're gonna go over all of this. Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure, because there are some questions that will be after
Okay.
what you speak.
all right. So we would like to have a policy in terms of having the district say no to having funerals in schools or at schools, and then funeral receptions in the schools as well. The reason why is because people who go to these funerals, they have that, I guess the death is on them. I don't know how else to explain it in English. But if we do it properly, we use that traditional herb to cleanse ourselves of that. But a lot of people, our own people, that teaching is no longer there. So they still have that, and they come into like a reception like that, and they're among people, and so and they leave that in that environment. And so that's our number one recommendation, because if that I guess remnants, it stays there in the school, then it affects a person mentally and emotionally and physically and spiritually in all different ways. In Navajo, we call it ihotiste. And so it affects you in different ways. And so because of these kids, our precious children, we don't want that to happen to them. We want to ensure that those are not done in the schools. Next one is to ensure that culturally linguistic relevancy is mandated and at every school and in the 90-day plans to ensure that each school addresses that. And then holistic services continue to be included in grants and continue to be available to all schools like it is right now. There was also recommendation from the medicine men, the practitioners who've done these previous ceremonies for schools, and their recommendation is to do a yearly cleansing or a yearly blessing at all schools to ensure that whatever hardships or negativity that happened, that it gets taken out, and then starting a new year like on a clean slate. That's what they recommend. But there's also times when there's events or incidences that have occurred, and for example, there's two schools that we know of that had lightning strike their building. And so with that, you have to undo that too with these holistic services. And so in such cases, those kind of events, it needs to be put back into balance by using these holistic services. And then of course, when snakes enter buildings, those are times when in our belief, or it tells us that they're like messengers. So we want to make sure that those are not coming into the schools, because schools are typically the homes for our children year round. And so it's like they're entering into a home-like atmosphere. And then for all district staff, starting from the board on down, is to recommend that they understand the purpose and reason for providing offering to our medicine men before they start services. Because in a school system like our district, we have that finance policy of net 30 to pay them until after services are rendered. but that's not the case. The etiquette, it's a cultural, holistic etiquette, is to provide that offering for them before they start. And so we want to continue that, because right now, with the support of Mr. Carlson, that's currently how it's set up. We want it to continue like that, because in the past it was really challenging to get that done. Sometimes we had to pay out of our own pockets for these services to be rendered. And then for the district to understand and respect the protocols and etiquette of eclipses, the solar eclipses. There were times when information was given out, we had to provide that information and that culture education on that in terms of that etiquette. And so we want that to be at a higher level in terms of implementing such things as maybe canceling school or whatever, to ensure that our children are not exposed to that. I know there's a lot of controversy over that, but those protocols and etiquette are still here with us today as the NEP people. It hasn't gone away, and so we want to continue to follow that and practice that. Also, to have mandatory culture education every year for everybody, starting from top down with our board members down to our staff. And so the last time, we used to have it every year, because my dad and I, Mr. Keeswood, we used to provide culture education for new staff members, but it stopped happening in 2021, and I'm not sure why it stopped, but that needs to get revamped and to start again. Also, we're going to create a video on culture, education, etiquette, and protocols, and in a video, and we're recommending that it be part of the mandated vector training too, every year that we do our vector training. Also, we have expertise right here in our own district. We know maybe a colleague who does holistic services. Like for us, we have several within our Navajo heritage teachers that we look up to for guidance. We have my Shanala, Mr. Brady, Shiche, Dr. Chi, my dad, Mr. Keeswood. Then we have others too, and so they're holistic practitioners, and we look up to them for guidance. And in that, we want to ensure that they get that support as well in terms of like stipends or a timesheet, and to make sure that we have that support as well. But in return, to make sure that we're taking care of them too, because with medicine practitioners, holistic practitioners, they basically give themselves to situation, and we want to make sure that they're protected too. Also, to create culture question and answer posters and give them out to schools, and then they can hand those out to staff as well. We also, from Johnson O'Malley, this is our 4th year now, where we promote and communicate inappropriate field trips. And we share that every year at the beginning of the school year with all principals at their training. And some of these, there's sites and places that you don't go to. For example, there's caves and areas where maybe they were struck by lightning, like Antelope Canyon, those kind of field trips. It's inappropriate to go there. And And then there was a concern about teachers going to like the
Yes, I have a cabin. Every winter, every summer field trip. Oh, man.
okay. So what was I talking about? Oh, field trips. One of the teachers wanted to take our Navajo children to the bombing site in Oklahoma, and there was a concern about that because that's like, to us as the Net people, that's where a lot of people died, and that's just no, you don't do that. So those are types of examples that we share, and we want that to continue and be part of this culture policy as well. Also, we need to reestablish the culture response team to address cultural situations. For example, if you don't know, ask questions. And we've had several people who call our office and ask, hey, this is happening, or this happened, or this came around. What's the protocol for that? And we really appreciate that. If you don't ask questions, then you don't know. It's always good to ask so you know, and if something does need to be addressed, then it can be addressed. Also, with that culture response team, that's where, just like what we did with the situation, to come together and provide a opportunity to help provide a holistic support. For example, we had some student deaths and some staff deaths, and from our office, we provided that grief ceremony for staff, and then for teachers of these students, we did that for these schools, and we want to make sure that that continues too, because it puts your heart and mind and spirit back into balance and take some of that grief and soothe you. That's how that works. And then cultural appropriate responsiveness to Day of the Dead. I know we have colleagues and children who come from Hispanic, Mexican backgrounds that celebrate this, but as the Net people, we don't. And because it involves death again, so that's inappropriate, and we need to ensure that our schools respect that. Also, to ensure that Veterans Day and Code Talker Day are honored and respected. We did a video during Veterans Day, and that's coming from a Navajo warrior mindset that we shared to everybody. And that's how we think of our veterans, that in that capacity, they're more than just soldiers. They, as the Net people, there are warriors who protect in so many ways. And so we would like to get that part of our calendar as well. We've had several traumatic situations here in the district. We want to make sure that sometimes you have to do two parts of a ceremony to balance each other out. For example, if you're gonna situate like a traumatic event, you have to deal with that first and like calm it down. But then to put that situation into balance, then you do another ceremony, usually like a blessing way, to balance it back out, whether it's a prayer or song or an offering, to balance that back out. And so we want to continue doing those as well. We also want to recommend that principals, directors, instructional coaches, supervisors, and board members to start attending culture and language, bilingual education, and second language acquisition conferences so they can have a true understanding of supporting our Navajo language and culture programs and what that entails too. There are several that happen every year. So we all are required to have our PDPs and PD hours. And we would like to recommend that our administrators also have these required PD hours in these areas as well. Also to ensure that we have several of our medicine people here within our district who provide that guidance to tell us and share that, hey, yes, you can now start playing string games or start playing shoe games. You can start telling winter stories because that it's not the same throughout the district. We need to ensure that that education for everybody in this district is happening so that can be respected as well, because that's part of our etiquette is to respect this seasonal protocols that we still go by. It's still here today. It hasn't gone away. If something needs to happen to like this situation where we dealt with, there are times when we might have to do a 2-hour delay or maybe potentially, depending on the severity of the event, that school might have to be canceled. And we need to have that understanding as well and work with PED somehow, because in our Indian Education Act, which they should be aware of, it states in there in the 11 tenets as well. So if that needs to happen, that needs to happen. Also, to provide a better understanding of how holistic services work in terms of protocols and the etiquette part of it. And so there's just all different kinds of wording that just kind of went around just with this situation. And so we need to ensure that we provide that appropriate terminologies, appropriate protocols and etiquette of this cultural education of our holistic services. And those are things hopefully that we recommended from our department that we can try to implement to ensure that these types of situations don't occur again, because it does happen. I can tell you that these kind of things still continue to happen, and so that's where our holistic funding comes into play. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to letter B, review Regalia, equity policy, equity audit, inclusion and strategic plan, and recommended follow-up presentation. ICO, Ms. Chappelle, Mr. Brady, and Mr. Keeswood.
Sharon, we're back on our presentation and we're on slide 7. So at the sign-in desk, there's a couple policies there for your all's review. One is our equity policy, and what that equity policy does is it seeks to implement Yazzie Martinez considerations and have a cohesive policy of all of our cultural education statutes. And then the second policy that we have up there is a policy that the board passed in the last, let's see, I think it was the last year. And this has to do with regalia and cultural items. And so we're going to go over that. So the equity policy, if you have it in front of you, you can just kind of skim through that. This is high level, just to kind of remind everyone where the district is in implementing these items and making sure that we do bring cultural and linguistic resources to the classroom so that students have those available every single day. I want to turn this over a little bit high level to our ICO department, and then we can go from there.
Oh, sorry. Oh, hold on. Miss Aspis has a question. Can you hear her?
Okay, I have to go through your phone. Okay, I just for not to let it go further, what Dr. Begay had said about you know, there's several items that she talked about, and I fully agree that you know, like the field trips, you know, is no, I don't know if everybody knows, but our field trips are not really fully transparent to everyone, or not transparent, but they're not fully read. And with the new setup of our agenda, most of it is just motioned through and streamlined. And so, you know, I've fought against that because, and I'm, you know, not knowing that, you know, there were items on field trips and places that students were attending that were taboo. And I didn't know that, but now that she brings up, you know, those are very good points, and as a board that we should be aware of. And then also the next thing that she talked about was veterans, and about, you know, them being honored as warriors, and I fully agree on that as well. And then the language, you know, I think at the most we try to attend NEIA and you know, and try. We haven't. I think we've really haven't been kept on top of, or I haven't. Is the Yazzie Martinez, and the last one that I did attend was when they're at Sycamore in Farmington, and but you know, as a board, we're supposed to move as a board, and a lot of times we don't get notifications, but we often hear later that certain individuals and the board attorney has attended, but I believe the education needs to start from the top on down, and meaning the board, and then also superintendent. I think there's a lot that Mr. Carlson, and if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I don't see that effort put in, and it's usually on down from the assistant superintendent. And so if we're gonna be elected as leaders and have position as leaders, we need to do that as well. And then the importance of language, I believe is needed, because a lot of it is associated with ceremony, and that's why a lot of us don't really participate or go to ceremony. I know personally, because I really don't understand what is being said or what is happening. So for my own protections spiritually, I avoid, and only if I'm going to have somebody by my side, interpreting. So we need to let our children, our students know that it's for that reason we need to learn our language. And then finally, the head's understanding of and acknowledging. I fully, the last meeting, I kept thinking, and that kind of angered me that, as a 5-member board, we, I think there's times that we need to be a little bit more stubborn about our culture and about our traditions, meaning that we can't wait on and have people say, this can't be discussed because of that not being on the agenda. And then, with Dr. Begay talking about money, we need to have that reserve also. And she, that's something I didn't even think about, but she is right, where we can take that money and in situations like what has happened and pay our athletes and so I fully agree with Dr. Begay, and with not only pets understanding and respect of our culture, but also our parents of our students, because if we have are observing, say, with the I can't think of it right now. If we're observing something and the student doesn't go to school the next day, parents are going to have to be respectful and patient too, because that also goes into their summertime where those days have to be made up in those hours. And so everybody's going to have to be on the same, and that includes teachers, staff, and I hope we don't get to the point where we're not addressing or not telling of certain situations just so that we can protect, the cultural side of it, and not have to address it or not have to extend the school year additional days. So just wanted to include all of that before go on to the next topic. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Chappelle, you can continue. Oh. Ms. Benali.
Thank you. Yeah. Before I'd like to proceed on with this, we'd like to give some time to Mr. Keeswood, as he was a part of this whole process. Mr. Keeswood.
Oh, hey, good evening. Y'all like you fell asleep. Is that boring? That we're talking about our culture. I'm a straight person. I'll tell you straight out what I think. Okay? As I kind of listen and hear and feel the room here again. Do we have to listen to this again? Why are we going over this again? Is what I feel. This is our culture as the Net people. Not everyone is traditional, and I understand that. But there are a lot of us that are. We live this life every day. So when this happened, first it angered me, the audacity of someone bringing that item into the school with our children. And I don't know exactly what room it was. I guess I'm kind of lucky I didn't know, because I would have went over there myself and threw it out. That is really disrespectful to our people and to the students there at the school. Not only there, but all schools. So all the recommendations that were said here and brought to the board and everyone listen, please, board, make it happen. Let's really truly say we're actually going to do it, not just lip service. Actually do what we ask as much as you can with the guidance of our ICO and the schools the various schools that need more education, that be provided. And it's time, in a way, I guess it's kind of glad that this happened to wake us all up. Not only here, but all over. I've had people calling me from Northern California, native folks I know, that this really happened. And I had to say, yes, it did happen. So it woke up a lot of people in all societies and schools of the culture awareness that we have to have and we have to implement and actually do it. So the recommendation, please, if you could just, really look at it and do what we can to make these recommendations work for all of us. So yeah, before I start getting upset even more. Thank you, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Keeswood. So to go on, we're going to do the overview of the equity policy with the slideshow. So we have established the first ever cohesive education policy through our school district. And this was passed in November 28th, 2022. So actually we are coming on an anniversary of this policy. And thank you, board, for being able to pass this, because what we were able to do is to use a dialogue with the Yawzi Martinez versus the state of New Mexico, the Bilingual Multicultural Education Act, the Indian Education Act, the Hispanic Education Act, and also the Black Education Act to consolidate or to make one cohesive policy and not just outline one act over the other. And it was actually the one of our school principals that made that recommendation, and we are the only school district that has this cohesive education policy within the state of New Mexico. So we feel like we've done our work, and it's not done. As you can see, we're still working, we're still advocating for our teachers, we're still advocating for our students and our parents and families in the community. The creation of the Intercultural Community Outreach Department is a result of the work that we are doing. And the creation of this department was created by the school board in order to help us preserve and the extension of the cultural and linguistic knowledge and values of our school district. We have 4 foundational pillars that we are addressing, and it's something that is being worked on. And so we address pillar 1 through pillar 4, where we address the needs of the whole child, address the educational, social, emotional gaps, ongoing development of the roadmap and needed to attain post-graduation skills and knowledge for college career-ready technology and workforce readiness, and educational workforce and community resources. So in that, we have created the
I call him Che. He's just Mr. Russell. He helps with the equity council within our school district, and that's a result of the Yelzy Martinez lawsuit. And so his focus is working with students and parents. And so historically, you know, the policies that are in place is not one size fits all, as you can see in the diagram. If we could go to the next slide, Sharon. So the reality is that we are looking at every avenue to have equity in all aspects of what our work is doing. And with that, you know, with the Yelzy Martinez lawsuit, it gave us more leverage into working to help bridge these gaps within our school district. Next slide. So with the decision, and as you know, that lawsuit and the outcomes are still happening now, and December 1st, which is today, was one of the final things that PED had to work on with the results of what the community input forums that they've had since October to now, of how they're going to work to make a remedy. And this remedy went from maybe a 40-page document to almost over 200 pages, and that's getting community input all over the state of New Mexico. So with that, we have our work to do, and I feel like our school district is ahead of the game as far as like getting these things in place within our department, and also spreading that out without our school district at the school level by providing CLRI workshops, helping our students that are English learners and that maybe have a second language in the home. And also, in short, it's not one size fits all. So we are looking to continue to provide educational programs and opportunities that fits every one of our students in the district. So this kind of will give you an idea of what the court has stated the key to successfully bridge gaps. And of course, there's probably more that is involved with the community input. And so we're looking at attracts to and retain the quality and diverse teachers to teach New Mexico multicultural student population, hold teachers and students in schools, districts to the state accountable and supporting students with culturally and linguistic backgrounds, and also to help with the student population with curriculum and high expectations for all students, and provide rigor and relevant in high school and curriculum and that prepares them to succeed in the workforce and in college. And I believe that this is a part of the initiative that we have with Mr. Carlson, because he is incorporating the rigor and for teachers to be interactive and to have students speak in classes. So I believe that is an expectation of what we have in place. So basically, the court analysis focused on multicultural education. So basically, we are looking at all students from pre-K all the way to 12th grade, as far as like how we are looking at these programs that we have in place to help our students to demonstrate, you know, that we can help support our teachers, recruit teachers in our rural areas, obtain teachers in special education, STEM, bilingual education. And, you know, some districts do have difficulty to have a sufficient number of our teachers to be TESOL endorsed. So that means that there's an extra credential in order to have our teachers to meet the requirements to help our students that are identified as English learners. And our ability to compete with neighboring school districts. We, as you know, we are working hard to keep our students within the school district. Next slide. So basically, here is our the idea of how the Yelzy Martinez that's held for implementing New Mexico's cultural education laws. It gives it to you in detail of how the act was implemented and what it encompasses. So I would take a look at the cohesive education policy that is the handout. It will provide you more information as to what we have worked so hard on to get this in place. So legislative responses, next slide. Increase legislative funding, which is now pointing to PED and school districts that are utilizing funding to implement programs that address the Yazzie-Martinez findings, and we're continuously advocating for that. Like I mentioned, NMPED's response is expansion of multicultural education programming with a focus of social-emotional needs, addressing the needs of the whole child, and basically it's addressing the pillars of what I addressed earlier and help to bridge the gaps to sum up everything here. So we are looking at a continuous cycle of improvement with the process of mapping and documents. So we have expanded resources to implement cultural and social emotional programs. Johnson O'Malley, Impact Aid, BME, Bilingual, Title III, and Title VI were handled just by 2 staff members, and now we have expanded to the program size of where we are now. And so that is a big plus for our program to address all of this, because it takes a lot to get this work done. Programs addressing holistic wellness and cultural and linguistic needs for the whole child, strategic planning and the completion of the milestones for bridging gaps, increase interdepartmental coordination and collaboration. So that, if you ever heard Mr. Deswood speak, he would always say, you know, one of the biggest things that he says is communicate, communicate, communicate. And if you are not communicating to other departments, then how are we going to get reach these, bring these gaps closer and decrease that? Increase community input and collaboration. We are doing that through our community family engagement meetings, which is held in the fall, in the spring, and increase cultural and social emotional training, meeting the diverse communities throughout the community schools, better and more thorough data to identify gaps and determine program effectiveness in bridging those.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, as Cheryl, Ms. Benali has been talking, I was just wondering, Superintendent, did you let PED know of the situation?
I have not.
Okay, my next question, Board Attorney, did you let PED know?
No, I was not directed to let PED know.
Okay, I just want that understanding. So when do we let PED know? You know, as I asked that question, I guess we can all think about it. To me, it was quite serious, and I think if we're going to change things, and if we're going to have that respect and acknowledgement of our culture, somebody needs to let PED know. And also an outreach, was there one done to our state rep? You know, those things need to happen. If not them, maybe our council delegates, or, you know, I don't know if any has joined or any has is present, but you know, I think we really missed an opportunity here, and letting them know what has occurred and what has happened, and then all the prayers and ceremonies that have taken place. Thank you.
Ms. Cheryl, go ahead, continue.
Okay. So this slide tells you the whole rationale as to how the ICO, Intercultural and Community Outreach Department was formed. It was prioritized for the culturally linguistic relevant programming and equity, created to be the hub of helping to address the Alze Martinez lawsuit and to assist in identifying and addressing the learning of social emotional gaps of students. Internal mapping of what has been identified in key areas. The most attention and the ICOs is to organize and assist in addressing those key needs. And I believe in one of these key needs in one of our prior meetings, we have addressed this process of what we are addressing now. We have emphasis in their priority emphasis in the outreach of the Johnson O'Malley Title VI, Title III bilingual and safety net needs need to be expanded. The programs are the foundation of programming and the action for the ICO. In addition, community schools are being implemented, which are implemented at several schools in the district to fit each community needs. So we are involving the students, parents, and stakeholders with that programming. Active family and community engagement and collaborative leadership practices. So basically, under the Alze Martinez response programs, under ICO, those items are all of what we encompass into our programming, all the way from the food pantry to McKinney-Vento homeless, social, cultural and social emotional safety nets, Equity Council, Johnson O'Malley, the bilingual multicultural education, responsive to CLRI, dual language, and the Heritage bilingual Navajo and Spanish programs in community schools. Thank you.
So the next stage of what we're going to do is kind of go back over those recommendations. And just to quickly add, the other policy that's up at the sign-in sheet is our cultural dress regalia policy. And this policy, the most important part of this policy for the context of this conversation is paragraph B, which I will read. And the board further recognizes the right of a student to wear or accessorize the student's attire or to otherwise have on their person, in their locker or student backpacks, bags, or duffels, items associated with the student's cultural, ethnic, or religious identity. Any school policy, regulation, rule, process, or procedure that prohibits the rights afforded students in this paragraph is void. And then at the top, it talks about the inherent right for students to dress in a cultural manner at school or district functions, including graduation. And so just wanted to round that out so that we understand that the district has moved quite a long way in meeting cultural and linguistic needs of our students and staff. And I really like what Mr. Keeswood said about this being a good opportunity to further that. And so that's kind of what we are here for today. Board, what we thought we would do before we open it up to public comment was just to go back over those recommendations, and so that the public comment can really be focused on the next steps and how to move forward. And then what we'll do is take those public comments and the direction you all give me, board, and then I will draft a cultural policy that kind of incorporates all of that for a first reading at our next board meeting.
Any comments or questions? Are you okay with that? Okay, go ahead.
Sharon, do you mind putting up the recommendations that Dr. Begay was reading earlier? And we're on page 2, yes, ma'am. So I'm just going to go through this high level. So the first recommendation, no funerals or funeral receptions in the schools. Curriculum instruction needs to mandate CLRI in every classroom and in 90-day plans. Holistic services included or need to be included in grants and available to all schools. Cleansing of schools based on certain situations, lightning strikes, snakes entering buildings, yield, purpose and reason for that, yearly cleansing of all schools before school starts, during breaks, eclipse protocols and etiquette, mandatory culture education etiquette protocols, a video for vector with the cultural considerations alongside vector training, a stipend for expertise in those types of situations, cultural question and answer posters, field trips, needing to go to appropriate places if they're using JOM money funds, need to reestablish the cultural response team to address cultural situations, student staff situations like death, grief, suicides, culturally appropriate responsiveness to Day of the Dead activities, Veterans Day, Code Talker Day, honor and respect, blessing away prayer after traumatic situations, additional training and consistent training, culturally appropriate timelines for winter stories, events, and string games, potential school delay for certain situations, and then creating a better understanding of how holistic services work along with a procurement process for those services. So that's in a nutshell the overall recommendations coming from ICO. And then what we thought we would do, board president and board members, is to have folks comment on these recommendations and provide additional ones as well.
Can you repeat that last part?
Yes,
We're
ma'am.
getting the paper.
The last one, the recommendation or the instructions?
The instructions
Sorry.
afterwards.
So what we thought we would do is have members of the audience and board comment on these recommendations.
Okay.
And then that will go into a policy draft that I will bring forward to at the next board meeting.
Okay. There was a question that Vice President Wells had in regards to the letter A that he would like to ask before we start the dialogue.
My question is, are we now, do you feel that we are where we need to be with the incident at the Shiprock High School?
Yes, sir. We are.
We're
We're-
good.
we're-
We're good then as far as that goes.
We're healing now.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
And then for,
Thank you.
oh, sorry. And for clarification, we've covered letters D, correct? Or C. That was on the cultural policy, but now we're on to letter D,
We're on to public
D.
comment.
which is
D.
the
Yes, ma'am.
community feedback on recommended follow-up, verbal, limit to 5 minutes each person, and written community feedback. So board members, do you have any comments in regards to the recommendations?
Not having been able to study these, I have no comment.
Board member Montoya, do you have any comments?
Good. Looking at and listening to them in total. And it was acknowledged not everybody participates or takes part in the culture. What do we do with those people that choose not to in those situations, as the eclipse or any other? And to me, that consideration has to be out of respect to their positions as well. And it's not to certainly counter, but again, respecting the individual's choice, just as there's people who are Navajo that choose not to speak Navajo, those people that don't partake in the traditions. I mean, that's their right to do so. So how do we utilize this to address those circumstances and decisions from the families within the community as well? I think that everything has to be taken in total when we make these decisions to do that. So again, it's just a consideration because I've been asked myself, especially over the past few days, about that. And how do we move forward with these recommendations is the question that I have, because it's been asked of me.
The easiest way to do that is this on? Voluntary participation. And then in addition to that, Dr. Begay would like to answer as well.
Yes, there is choice for families and students that don't have that knowledge. And so just like this morning, the students and the staff were given that choice to participate or not. But we also need to remember, as I had shared earlier, that these teachings, these protocols and etiquette are still here today, and we have to make sure that it's still followed for us as the Net people. We can't just bypass it. We still have to provide awareness, even some type of, that awareness just has to be communicated. Yes, there may be people who choose not to take part or follow that. That's up to them. But as the Net people, those of us who still follow that, our teachings, the etiquettes and protocols, we still have to make sure that we're still doing that and not do anything. So in that sense, I just want to provide that as well.
I absolutely respect that. And as I've used as an example with my son who's serving in the military up in Washington, that one eclipse that we had last year, that we sent him some videos and some information. He gave it to his commanders and his sergeants of his platoon, and they had enough reverence and respect to allow him to sit quietly in a darkened, I think it may have been a Humvee. They blackened it for him. They covered him up, let him sit there quiet for 3 hours and bless himself when he was done as a rebirth. And so therefore, again, I respect that part of it. But again, we also have to take into consideration those people who choose not to in these decisions that we make. So I just want people to understand that we're not forcing anybody to do anything. I certainly have enough reverence for the traditions and cultures. That's the way I was raised. And so I want people to understand that I'm not pushing back and saying, no, I absolutely understand. So, but I've been asked myself by people who were Navajo to say, well, what about my decisions, my choice for my kids and my family? So I just want people to understand that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay, we will, and for myself, I'm glad that ICO is doing this. It's something that's been needed, unfortunately, under the these circumstances, but it was necessary for us to look at these policies and consider the severity of not adhering to or updating our policies, what has occurred, or to our community. So I'm like Mr. Montoya said, we offer choice whether you're going to if a child wants to participate or not, or if their family is going to participate or not, because we're all at different spectrums. And it's good, I'm glad to hear that education was involved this morning when they were partaking in the what is it, the lightning, or the the herb. So I'm glad that that we're not just doing it and providing the medicine, but also educating our community and our kids about the importance of it. So I appreciate that. And I will hand it over to if there's any public comments. People here in person, you have 5 minutes to provide public comment.
So my public comment is to everyone, imagine if we didn't respond or acknowledge what was at stake and what was at hand. Imagine if we allowed our students to continue with what we have going. And I just put that as a forethought for everyone, is that we did everything imaginable and be above and beyond our work hours, beyond our work during our break, to ensure that every student was taken care of. We may not have been able to publicly provide feedback instantly. We were working nonstop as soon as Wednesday happened. Saturday came and we were able to rest. But then Monday morning came and we were back at work again to acknowledge and come up with all of these. And we have long lists of tasks that we had to do. And what do we do as people? We have to put it aside because we're putting our children first. Thank you.
President Haskey?
Yes.
I was trying to get on. I lost internet, but when you asked about board comments.
Yes.
Can I do that now?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. The recommendations, I didn't hear them fully, but I guess I can reread them later. But people, I think all is possible, but I think some of it is it's going to be funding. You know, especially for one example is the conferences that goes into money, and so that's why I was saying earlier that it would be good to have the legislature or state rep know of the situation, because then they hopefully can advocate for, for us, and I think we all know, we as board members know that we're kind of looped in and pushed into one big Indian tribe package when it comes to state, when it comes to Santa Fe. It's not Navajo, it's not Laguna, it's not Jemez, it's not the Apaches or it's one big Indian group. And And I believe the biggest and the loudest advocates are from the Pueblo tribes. So there needs to be a Navajo that stands up and advocates. And because, you know, such as for another example was the female products put into the male's bathroom, which President Haskell and myself were very opposed to, because I have always known that you don't do that, because mom raised me, grandma raised me, and said, you know, you don't have boys looking at things like that because it could mess their mind up. And so, but at the state level, it was passed, and totally against what Navajo culture has. And so I think, you know, with all that's been recommended, or, you know, we got to keep in mind that it is going to take extra understanding, extra funding. And right now, I think we're really trying to be mindful of where we stand financially, because we can't do conferences and then, you know, employ people, or, you know, we have to be mindful of that pot of money. So that's what I wanted to say regarding those recommendations. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Go ahead.
Lat eil kahasin lo. Adonat atanosheniki stui nihizani anosco. Yat ein hitini dole. Akon de di quake at the hot in Diego cities. The neck at Chaco. What it is, ne? What Hate in Alia. Di hot ego. Oh, use at an algal. Sent nebeke zot and ash. De Yahanil Rash. Says cheat hakis. Chidi be yelling al that dish at Alia. That sent the gene be yell Ilia. Eben at the skitolish. Ato belach el trahik Iliago. The quibest or the behinil. Dohadat ehgi. Dido Yunan Nishbesi krikat. Hotchon. Quagin Hilishanti. I'd like to translate this to the best of my knowledge into the English language. In our culture, this is what we call the lives of people have been disrupted and traumatized. And what protocols have we gone through? Have we made an offering to a tree that was struck by lightning? Have we counted the arrowheads that was put into the herbs that was made? And what color were they? Were they named as they were put into the herbs? And then have we done the washing in the circle of the herbs? Have we done the getting the ashes with the feathers and blowing it away? There's so many involved, so many categories. Now, to put this into perspective for you, what happens, especially you young men right there, what do you do when there's a school shooting, somebody dies? You evacuate, make sure everybody's safe. This is the same, it's in comparison to that. You should have shut the school down right then and there. Immediately. If you really want to understand this, come to me. I'll teach you, I'll educate you culturally. No other cultures involved but Navajo. So I want you to understand that. There's a lot of deep dive information that we need to educate ourselves with. And I want you to know that. How many of our children, what they're born with, the emotional stress, the depression, the trauma petrifies starting from the spinal cord here, and it starts growing. Dissolve it all. What are we going to use to dissolve that so that the effects of this 5-10 years from now, the child does not have to carry? See, I'm looking further down, not right now, because we'll all be gone 15-20 years from now. This is what we need. This is what we really need to educate ourselves with. So, I'm going to give you a little insight of some of the things that needs to be done. There's another different ceremony way when all this is done, when school begins, or even at the beginning of the new year. Who knows those things? Who knows the songs and the prayers? Cut right here and here. This is the reality of it. It's like a heart surgeon standing there. How many of us can perform a surgery on a heart? I don't think we can. But that specialized person, and we have quite a number of them out there on the Navajo Nation that can perform specific ceremonies for situations like this. So, I really want to get it off my chest because I'm still getting people from what happened at my house. And it's hard. How do you explain to a child to process this? I see. Don't kiss. Don't ash. Go here. Chin ban I saw Tando Bacao J. A coco yego that. Hito on here for leading this district and being there. And one of these days, we'll get to meet eye to eye and we get to talk face to face and make sure everything is accounted for. Oh, you boy, there's a lot to learn in life. The children are the one that teach us. We're just there to guide. Because I wanted to get this off my chest.
Good evening, Mr. Carlston and school board members and officers and CCSD staff and community members. My name is Doris Harrison. I'm a grandmother of one of your students at Shiprock High School. I was just very, I guess, kind of shocked to hear the message that evening of what had occurred and what happened. And yes, a lot of our young students, they don't really understand. But some of us, being brought up culturally from our grandparents, our late grandparents, our families, our relatives, I guess one of my concerns was not just what was mentioned about the ceremonies, the prayers, and the cleansing. It goes way far in depth, deeper than that, because the students there, whoever went into that classroom, whoever saw what they saw, the paths, the tracks, they're all leading around that school, everywhere. Even maybe the main office there. upstairs, downstairs, outside, where they interact. When they leave the school there, they get on the school bus. Who knows, they could, affect the bus driver there. And then also going home, back to their families, their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents, their siblings, maybe even newborns, their home life right there. It's been affected right there all around in the community. It's not just something that's just kind of fixed with so many cleansings and prayers, just like the gentleman mentioned. There's a lot of things that entail into that. And yes, some of us don't believe in certain things, but our culture, our tradition is very sensitive. There's things that we have taboos. There's certain things we are not allowed to do, certain things we're not allowed to see. And that's just how we're trying to instill that in our young people, our children, to understand that. And yes, I'm worried about my granddaughter because my granddaughter has had a very difficult life, and she does enjoy going to Shiprock High School. She will not commit to staying home sometimes when she gets sick. She'd rather be at school. She'd rather be at Bon Wilson. And, a lot of us, we love our kids very much, very deeply. And we don't want them to get hurt, not just for now, for their future. Because of what had happened, what had occurred, we're thinking about their future. We don't know, sometimes they might have nightmares, they might wake up, something might cross their path unexpectedly. So I really hope in the future that you really do educate your educators, especially when it comes to, the sensitivity of our culture and our tradition. And I myself, being a staff, I would rather see presenters in person, not just on video. Because when you see a person present, it has that significance. It comes to your heart. It has feelings. It picks you up. It takes a grasp of you, takes a hold of you. That's how it is when these presenters that present, topics culturally, traditionally, and it kind of touches your heart. And when you see it through the video, to me, it doesn't have the same significance. So I really hope in the future that you do educate, the teachers, the staff, whoever come aboard, and you yourselves to be more educated in knowledge, especially with our Navajo children or Navajo, our different children that have different backgrounds. Yes, we say we may not believe, but oho'a means learning. You learn something, whether you don't want to learn it or not, but you learn it and you understand it and you respect. That's what it's about. But I just thank you for the opportunity to speak out. Thank you very much.
Are we getting timed?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Oh dear, somebody time me. Germaine, start the timer. Yat not ani da no siniki aret anaiso thaniki aro ultra je patasantahiki superintendent aro kwa nihi kaigi nihitatis ahiki nihi kaigi aro shanale nedo Dr. Bigay nedo staff. Di oba sits oba sits ta shitis ao combat stikes hat wait ao nizin hashit ao a cohort aid Khayla at Khaled au at zala. Paol traa at no. Ako paol traa dat to. Belchon neta donabat nestrata di qua. Nhetenen idliniki. Nhen anthin. Hodat ehegi bahasthe. Nkhalchin patasit he. Nkhalchin yo deini ne yat ehegi bohito al win zeno agent old khatchin what an khalchin hotel ako aden khabata holia ade yadat ehegi pinta noltkin ahot au nihchin dasatit ako yen di hohot Arakwa akao jeki shanale na department dodat hot au hatralin linigi hot au chote solt hot au aila in the classroom. Then I heard it was in the classrooms. Then the next day would be the other classrooms, and then it would be the school building. And then so when I first heard about this, immediately I thought, as being a former educator, we turn in lesson plans. So on that lesson plan that was turned in was this article written down as part of the materials. And then the lesson plans are turned into the office. Are they just filed away without anyone that's in charge of reviewing those? How was that overlooked? And then also, with it not only happening there at Shiprock High School, was this article kept in the teacher housing? So was the teacher housing cleansed also? So those are my questions and my concerns. So the school district, you need to do a better job of teaching the people that work there, other people that come in, how our teachings are, what our beliefs are, because we value our children. We just want good things for them, to see good things, hear good things, positive things. So this type of article hinders that. As Mrs. Harrison earlier spoke, it can extend not just at this time, but it can extend further. It can cause trouble further. So what classroom was it in? How many students were in the classroom? How many students throughout the day went through that classroom? Did any of them touch the article without knowing that? As Navajos, we do not do that. So those kinds of things you need to be aware of. And when these sessions, training sessions are put on, the people need to listen. When I used to work, we used to have training, you'd see teachers there, they're not even listening to the presenters. They're just on their phone or talking. They're not even concentrating. So, but this is a valuable teaching that needs to be followed, and you need to make adjustments for everybody, maybe not in a large group, but in a smaller session. So then that way, you can see who's listening, who's not listening. So these are my concerns as a grandmother. And my grandson goes to school at Kirtland Central High School. And it makes me think, has other stuff like this happened up there? I'm sure at Newcomb they're more aware. But has other things like this happened that had not been brought to your attention, our attention? So those are my concerns at this time. And earlier we had a different meeting, so I'm glad I made it in time here to voice my concerns as a grandmother, as a former educator, and as for you. Not Anita, no Liniki, you leaders, you really need to take this seriously. This is not something not just to be swept under the rug. The phrase there, you need to take a good look at it. And these other people that are going to come into our schools, onto our land, they need to be aware of these things. And then to really, truly honor it and be respectful of our teaching, be respectful of our culture. So, so eben yani ya kwa shanat ani tanotliniki ara tanaiso thaniki ara kwa. I thought it was going to be a full house. Ara ta osaiki so doesn't bahata so ziki yeah. What our Hashin son Halchene, ye but ya not a hot eto le yat out ben sick case and liniki yat out and not a hines lado le hoyat out by ultra not a dot lead araba ultra and liniki to art eso I hear hot out Halchene baka or jaggy other than it's a good thing too that we have our CEO department here. I'm sure they were immediately contacted how to handle this situation, and right away they did what they could to take care of it. So even in the leadership teams, when you have your leadership teams, we need to have a Navajo person there that knows the culture, that knows the teachings. So when the leadership people are talking about what to teach, how to teach, and all of those items, that their voice will be heard also. Sure, derota, no, not these. We need to do it this way. So we need to have more of our Navajo leaders to be part of the leadership team, and more of them to be directors within the different departments. So so there was lots more to say, but I didn't write it all down. But anyway, ako what has tiki shanant ada no seniki ado kwa ahi kaigin hitatis ahi what ba yatel kito bahata si ako ahon so dole. Thank you.
Can you give your sheet to Ms. Chappelle? Not so kain la. Oh, okay.
May I, President Haskell?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just looking at the chat on YouTube, and I noticed that, and I missed the part where the timeline of events. And so I'm gonna ask Superintendent Carlson a question. How long was that human skull there at the school? Because what I'm seeing on the chat is that the students are saying that it had been there for a whole year. Is there any truth to that?
So there's been a thorough investigation. There has been a thorough investigation, and folks in the building were interviewed, including the teacher. And it's my understanding that that object was there longer than a couple weeks. I don't know about the entire school year, but I do know it was there for some time. It was stored there and had been brought out. I don't know if anybody wants to add more to that. I know that folks from the high school might have a little more of an update on that, but yes, it was there for a longer period of time.
Okay, I see that, there's some importance to that. We've not only had student deaths, but also, with the administration, the principal. And I've run into an uncle that that was practicing to be an Hatatli, but he mentioned and that, even in your dreams, and it was so weird that he had said that, because I dreamt that I was shot. I was in a shooting incident at the boardroom. And it kind of scared me, but you know, I just put some cedar down, but now, you know, I see this on the chat, and I thought it was there only for a few days, but if there's, I don't know if that changes things, if that skull was there, you know, longer than a year. You know, and our students need to speak up about this, or maybe they did, and that's what I mean. People tend to look at these things and not take them seriously, and that, you know, they tend to hold back on that information, and for reasons unknown, but you know, that needs to stop, because you know, these things they're quite serious, and you know, I don't know how many people throughout the district, students, administrators, everyone is in some way affected by this. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, Yate She Alexis Untili Unisha, Toheglini Nishle, Hushglashni Bushachin, Se Nahabitni Dashache. Hello everyone, I'm Alexis Uintili and I'm an English teacher over at Shiprock High School. I wanted to come today to just put in my comment about the situation because I'm very close to it. And so the way that things are coming out on social media, I didn't really like how it was being portrayed. And so I just wanted to voice my perspective in hopes that it kind of makes things a little bit better. So from the previous two ladies who were up here, they brought up some points about understanding the culture. There was something that I forgot who said it, but someone said something about learning about the culture, understanding it, and respecting it, and voicing the fact that our culture training videos should also be specific to Navajo. I've been working in the district this is my 6th year. And so I am Navajo. I grew up here in Shiprock. And so I'm slightly familiar with the traditional side of Navajo. There are some things I do know, a lot of things that I don't. And so one thing that I noticed in the trainings for these cultural videos most recently is that they're very broad and general. They just tell us teachers to respect the culture, respect the students, respect. But if you don't know what you're supposed to respect, I don't know how you're supposed to do it. And this teacher did not know this at all because she is not from this culture. She is not from this community. And so when it was found out, there was a lot of embarrassment, a lot of like very apologetic, and just didn't know that this was something. And as a teacher there, I've been in the classroom, I've seen it, and it didn't really bother me because I'm not traditional. It just didn't occur to me to be an issue. And so this is a mistake that I could have made, and to hear some of the words that are being used to talk about the situation and the teacher, I just feel really bad because I know the person, I know their attitudes, I know their beliefs, and this situation is not something that they would have intended. And I don't know how we can be upset with someone who doesn't know these things. And so it brings into question for me is how was this teacher supposed to learn? Was whose like responsibility was it? Was it the hiring, the district to teach this teacher about these cultural things? Was it me as a colleague that's supposed to teach her these Navajo things just because I'm Navajo? Even though I may not know a lot of these things, but is it my responsibility? Is it the responsibility of the students? Is it all of our responsibility? So what I'm having a hard time with is figuring out what's going to not only happen in the future for our district in terms of cultural training, but also like what's going to happen to my colleague at this time. I don't believe that this is being handled in a very good way because I feel like she is being shut out. And I think that if people heard what she would have to say, she would be truly apologetic about the situation. She would know and let her students know, let the community know that there was no harm that was intended. This was just a huge misunderstanding. And I think that if we want to restore harmony not only to our school and our students and our community, we should also think about restoring the harmony with that teacher that's being affected. Because right now, I feel like she's probably feeling a lot of negativity and probably not really feeling like she's ready to come back to work and be in this space knowing that people are talking about her in a certain way. And so that just makes me really sad. And as a teacher who wants to practice restorative practices and who's thinking about these cultural aspects for our students, this should not just be a conversation with just us and excluding the person. I think that we can get better healing if there's more transparency so that we can clarify to the community what really happened, what the misunderstanding was, get an apology, and I feel like that would help to bring more trust back into our community. Thank you.
I have several comment sheets that I'll read right now. First of all, thank you. Thank you, the cleansing of the school and assisting our students with the ceremony prayers and partaking of the traditional herbs. Please continue with another ceremony due to some of our students graduating this coming school year. A lot of cultural policies, I agree. Recommendation for funding for cultural blessings, cleansing, ceremonial artifacts, cedar, herbs, baskets. Pain medicine person should be established each school year. This is a part of social, emotional, holistic wellness. Funding should not come from only one source. It should be a part of operational funds and established yearly. Comment a recommendation to create overall inclusive, equitable, and diverse policy, including all cultures. Part of this inclusive policy can be specific to other cultures, e.g. Hispanic, Latino, Filipino, others, Native American tribes, etc. Other cultures have their own cultural practices too. They should be included. Another comment, these updates need to be updated to the health and wellness policy. The health and wellness policy is approved and supervised by New Mexico PED. I want to give high five to ICO department, cultural leaders in schools, community, the Shiprock High School administration taking immediate action. Updated in the school safety plan. These are where funding can be utilized and requested for holistic cultural wellness for students, staff, district. Okay, and Mr. Carlson has the apology letter that he's going to read.
So obviously this is a personnel matter, so it is very delicate. So I wanted to approach this with care, but I thought at this point in time it would be a good idea to share. This teacher was interviewed regarding the incident, and she has issued an apology letter, and I won't use her name, and I probably shouldn't have used the pronoun I just used because that gives you clues. But anyway, here's what this person writes. District colleagues and families, thank you for allowing me the space to address the situation. I want to offer my heartfelt apologies for the distress that this has caused. I'm truly sorry for the hurt or concern anyone experienced as a result of the item being present in my classroom. I care deeply about the well-being of my students, their families, and this community. Teaching in Shiprock has been an honor, and the opportunity to learn from the traditions and values here is something I hold with great respect. I regret that this situation affected trust or comfort in any way, as that would never be my wish for those I serve. Please know that I take these concerns to heart. I am grateful for the guidance and perspective shared with me, and I remain committed to ensuring that my classroom reflects respect for the cultures that guide my teaching and learning. Thank you for your patience and the chance to address this issue. Sincerely, and the teacher signs it.
Are there any other comments?
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Superintendent Carlson.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, it really concerns me that we need to know all the details, and I'm wondering if Mr. Keeswood and the other gentleman, Benali, I believe, do they know that it's been there longer and possibly a year? And I would like to hear from them if this changes things, because if it's been there that long, then what about the class that just left? And so, you know, to be culturally responsible, what about the class that just left and the graduates? If they had been there that long, or if that skull has been there that long. So I really would like to hear from Keeswood or Mr. Benali. Thank you.
Okay, Board Member Aspis, we have one more comment, and then we'll have Mr. Brady or Mr. Keeswood answer your question.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Brady, I'm sorry, got his name mixed up. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Hello. Good evening. My name is Cheryl George, part of the community. I was at home listening online, and I wanted to make a public comment, so I jumped out of bed and came down here, so that's why I'm in my pajamas. Anyway, I heard what Mr. Keeswood said, and when Mr. Keeswood gets involved, board and attorney, when Mr. Keeswood gets involved, it's very serious. He's one of our hatathlis here in the community, and he knows his traditions, and he has schooled so many kids, well, not schooled, but he has taught so many kids his knowledge of the cultural aspects that we all share as being Dene. And even if you don't believe in the Dene culture, he also sits and talks with you about it so that you have a little understanding of what you are a part of, even though you don't partake in it or your family doesn't participate in it. At least you know a little bit about what's going on, about how you carry yourself. So when Mr. Keeswood stood up here earlier tonight and he was very upset, I could feel that emotion. And being a community member and a former parent and an auntie and a cousin of a lot of the students here in the district, I had to come down and speak also, and also to let the directors know in ICO and the safety department that updating all these policies that we're asking for tonight into the wellness policy, the wellness school policy, because New Mexico PED monitors that. And they approve those when we send it to New Mexico PED in our school wellness policy. And then also, if it's updated and put into the school safety plan, the SSP, that also is regulated by New Mexico PED. And it's also goes with a 90-day school thing that they have, that the principals have to provide for their running their school. So these policies can be placed in those. So when we go to ask for funding at the state level with Mr. Hernandez and on up to Senator Pinto, and at the state, it's in the policy, the wellness policy and the SSP, so that it's accountable, and that's where we can gain access to those fundings. And I just wanted to also, what Ms. Unitelli had stated also is that tonight we spoke about the relevance and the aspects of our culture. We also need to take that as community members, as Dene people, and also give back to the people who come into our district that are non-native. We have to give them the accountability that they know what our culture is. And like she said, if you don't know, and it's just give respect, give respect, give respect, in those videos that are posted, they don't really know what is respected. And so I can feel for the staff member who was here and listening to her apology letter. I think that we, Dene, need to give a little bit of, empathy to that. And I say empathy because we say that our culture and our Dene culture practices holistic wellness. We try to balance everything positive, negative. We need to give that back to that individual, because that individual is human. And we just can't stand here and shoot the bullets at that one person because of the mistake that they ironically made. And then also, as Ms. Unitelli said, that she's Navajo, but she didn't know the culture. She's not familiar with it all the way. So was it her responsibility? It's all of our responsibility. If we see it, go to Mr. Keeswood, go to another, go to ICO and tell them, I encountered this and this is what it was. What does it mean? And as what Mr. Montoya had brought up too, it's up to every individual. Everything starts in the home. So your choice, if you choose to teach the Navajo culture, and you choose to teach your children the Navajo culture, that's up to you, because that comes from your household. That comes from your lineage, from your grandparents, from your grandpa, from on down. That teaching comes. So if you don't have that in your home and you wish not to do that, then you have that right not to participate in it. But for the rest of us that do live that and do participate and do believe in these traditions, it's an everyday check for us. We check mark everything. During the day, you get up, you pray. Before you go to work in the morning, you do your corn pollen, and you pray for yourself, you pray for your family, you pray for everything. And then, so I just wanted to come in and just make that statement. And then also, I just really want to give props. I just really want to give a job well done to the ICO team here. And, you guys really did do your homework as I was listening. You guys really took your time. You guys really put this together well. And you are asking for all the right things. You are asking for the right accommodations. So if this was an IEP, these would be accommodations that would be required by law to instill for everybody to have equity in their educational school, their educational environment. And for staff, this would be a health and wellness that they could claim in the district for their health and wellness, mental health. I know a couple of years back, just recently, I think it was about 2 years ago, we had a suicide, and it happened at the home for that student was at TBA, and there wasn't a cleansing at that time. Wasn't even talked about, wasn't even nothing. And that should have been a cleansing, definitely. And that didn't happen. So that's why right now we have ICO right here asking, stating the updates that we need for the district. And we need these because it's a livelihood. Even my daughter, she asked me, "Mom, is that true? What happened at Shiprock High? Can you let me know what the outcome is of it?" And she's way out in South Dakota. She heard about it. She's a Shiprock High School alumni also. And so it has gotten out. And but I just want to just let the PED know you guys are the ones that are going to approve it or disapprove it. And I ask that I stand behind everything ICO has brought up, and I stand behind what the community members have brought up, and some of the teachers and staff as well. Please really think about it and approve it. We need it. And it's detrimental to everyone. And, you know, it's even going to get bigger. You're going to have to make policies for our other cultures that are here, the Filipinos, you know, African American that are here. We have to also include them because they're in this policy. There's regulations for it in this policy here. So, and then I just want to give Shiprock High School administrators high five. I mean, I'm really proud of you for taking accountability. And I heard that Miss Gallagher was not there that specific day, but the next day when she came in, she went to Mr. Keeswood and went and took authority over the situation. So I really want to commend you on that. And you know, for our safety team, and I hope you guys include that on the safety, the school plans. And thank you for your time. That's what I came down here for. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Brady, yes.
Thank you. I, Mr. Benali, will answer on behalf of Mr. Brady.
I'm sorry.
There's times that you need to have a little bit of laughter in order to heal. And I took that opportunity. It wasn't poking fun at board member Aspas, but you have to release some of that every now and then. A thorough investigation on behalf of ICO. My two colleagues here, they had to leave for a conference that was paid for well in advance. And so I kind of spearheaded that day. And I communicated with Ms. Shepard, assistant principal. I communicated thoroughly with Ms. Walter, the assistant principal as well at Shiprock High School, and with my brother, Mr. Elvin Keeswood. It is to my understanding that the artifact had been in the school classroom much longer than what was initially reported. And therefore, to get it done immediately was the top of our priority, to get a cleansing done immediately. There's not exact an amount of time that was given that it was there, but it did have the effect. I pride myself on being a Navajo language teacher, and I taught at Shiprock High School for the past 5 years. And I want to give my principal, as we met every year as a staff, she would always bring up, if you have questions on our culture, our traditional, we have a resource. And she would always say, Mr. Brady's here. And there have been a number of staff members that had reached out to me, either via an email or a phone call in the classroom, or even stopping by my classroom and ask, is this appropriate to do? The staff, yes. We fail to educate them, but we had the resources available as well. And so that's where we got to be better. We got to be better as the team here to educate again. And the lady that spoke earlier saying that hearing it in person is better than hearing what we suggested. That was my suggestion, vector training. Everybody don't like to go through that, and it's mandatory. But if they can go through it and sit through it, then they know about it. But what I know is a lot of them just play it and then they walk around. They don't even listen to it. So, but an in-person session, that would probably be best. In Navajo, we say, you got to dig into their ears and open it back up. This is our land. This is our people, our culture. This is our kids that was affected. That bothered me that day. And so that's why I started making these phone calls. I don't know if Mr. Deswood was okay with me calling him, but I called him directly. And I said, what are we doing? But as a team, we come back together. And if there's an additional ceremony, as my colleague Dr. Chi had indicated, maybe we go that route as well. It's all about healing. We got to continue that and continue down that path, because a lot of people heard about it and affected a lot of people. Not only this group of students there, but students that were there last year as well, most likely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Okay. Well, we appreciate all the, okay, one more comment.
All right, good evening. Audit Satasotli Gido Nakano Yagi, and those of you that are watching online. Mrs. President, board members, thank you for this meeting tonight. And all this is a restorative action, and I really enjoy being a part of the meeting tonight. We've heard from, how would you say it, like all stakeholders of people who took part in this, from the students to the parents to the staff members, our leaders, and all the way into the community, and as well as the individual who wrote her sincere apology. So it was really moving to sit among a community that is stronger together, rather than just bashing on one person or on the leaders, on everybody. And so I really like the approach of just how we come together and come up with this restorative plan and action to prevent this from happening again. So I don't know who brought up this attention to the principal or the leaders or anything like that, but I sense that maybe it was a student, and I really commend that student or those students for speaking up. And that's one of my initiatives, is for student voice. It's when the students speak out, we take action like this as adults, as leaders, to listen to them. And they know their school inside and out. And so I really commend those, whoever spoke out to talk or to tell. And then I know that it is a time of that sensitive holiday season, but I really like how our team members here, I won't say just the ICO, but all leadership among the district who took action in making this right, and taking time out of their holiday season with their families to really restore and start healing this learning environment for our students. And so then again, we are not just moving past this event. We are strengthening our foundation, and the Equity Council is reinforcing the commitment through ongoing professional development training for our staff members. And then like our colleagues said, our door is open. We're just a phone call away. We're just an email away. And so if there's any questions, feel free to reach out, to ask. And then and I really like the strengthening standards and strengthening our policy. And it was just neat to I guess not other states and not the world to learn, hear about Shiprock and what happened, but it's an awakening, a shaking awakening for all communities across not just indigenous cultures, but all cultures. And so it opens their eyes, it opens their ears to understand, like, hey, that mistake happened there and we don't want it to happen in our school. And then the Cohesive Act itself too, it was just to implement the Black Education Act, but we took like 5 different educational acts together to make one. And so so thank you. Things just don't happen by mistake, but it does happen for a reason. Not just for us to be looked down as a district, but to help others. And that's what really what we've been doing, is collaborating with other districts and other schools and sharing what we're doing to help strengthen them too. So and so that's all I wanted to say, and thank you, and everybody who participated, and everyone all the way to community members who were forced out of their beds to come out here tonight. But again, thank you, and Korea.
Ms. Aspis, I see your hand is down.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
I appreciate the joke by Mr. Brady. He intimidates me, him and Mr. Keeswood, and only because I know that spiritually and culturally they're strong, and there's a lot that I as a board member am willing to admit that I don't know, and I should, and I try, and I do want to say I try very hard as far as my language and things like that. But I do know most of the the taboos and the stories, and do hold them near. But I think with the two at guiding our district, we need that cultural or that spiritual spanking, and in a positive way. And as I stated before, the last meeting is, things we need to hear all details, and in order to go forward. And then I really appreciate the letter by the teacher. I'm sure it's difficult, but from here we grow. From here we go forward, and just try not to make those mistakes again. And but I at the most part, I'm really glad that things were handled as soon as, I must admit, I was thinking, how long are we waiting for these ceremonies? And here last Saturday, I went down to Shiprock. I was looking for the robotic tournament, and I kept calling Carlson, but no answer. And anyhow, I come to learn that the tournament was moved to Kirtland, and in order to carry out the ceremony, and really put my mind at ease when I heard that, because and I wish that had been put out on the website, that ceremonies were taking place, and I believe it was in different stages, and then this morning, so I was really glad to hear that, and it really eased my mind. And just to go to do your craft fairs on Saturday and things like that, and I'm glad that we didn't wait. So thank you, everyone involved.
Mr. Montoya, go ahead.
First off, I'd like to thank everybody for participating. Ms. Unitelli, thank you for your words. I truly appreciate that. I really do. Perspective that you brought to that, it just really added context to the letter that was submitted by the teacher. So thank you for that as well. Donovan, thank you for your words. And I say that and preface what I'm going to say here is that the understanding that this is an absolute teachable moment. It's been said in many different ways this evening, but it really is. We have in front of us the policy that we adopted in 2022 and has become I don't know if I can say it, a leading document in the state of Mexico, and really a first that has been put out there and utilized. The state has taken that as a model. So with what has occurred to very recent past, over the past week, that I think we have a very good model to utilize and something very powerful to devise for not just the community, but for the other communities, not just in the county, but in the state and across the country, and how we deal with these issues. And again, I've said this before, and it's not to, it's just context. For me as a parent, as a grandparent, I have a little 2.5-year-old granddaughter that's, everything I do is for her. And needed to take the totality, because it was mentioned to me on text is that we have to take everybody into consideration when we do this. And that education is for everybody and for everyone. Talk about equity. I remember we were discussing earlier in the year about DEI and at the federal level, and I even made the comment about how it's being bastardized. And I said, diversity, that's us, that's who we are. Equity, that's how we apply our education and our knowledge. And the I is inclusiveness. We include everybody. So I want us to remember and understand as we move forward, we develop this, that that's how we have to look at it. We don't have to be told. Human beings make mistakes. There's errors. We have all kinds of policies that we have, all kinds of laws, and still human beings still break them. Whether it be through want, lack of care, or quite frankly, sometimes just pure ignorance. And I don't mean that in a derogative manner, but if you don't know, you don't know. So again, as it was stated earlier, it's all of our responsibility to ensure and respect where we are, who we are, and who our relationships are tied to, and that understanding. So with that, again, I truly appreciate everybody and their time and their investment. Thank you.
I want to be careful what I say. And hope no one takes what I say wrong. Every cloud has a silver lining. And what has happened is truly a tragedy, is truly unfortunate. But look what we have learned. Look how far we have come, been able to come because of that. I myself have learned a lot of things. I've lived a lot among the Navajo people. My first year of high school was in Tula City. And so I have been associated with the Navajo people and the Navajo culture for a lot of years. But what has happened here has brought, to my knowledge, things that I never knew. And I suspect that this incident has made a lot of people aware of a lot of things that they didn't know before. The silver lining is that we now can take the information that we have gleaned from this, the experience, and see that it doesn't repeat, and see the necessity of asking before we jump into something we're not privy to, aware of, so that we don't make a similar blunder. Hopefully we have learned and can put that to practice. Thank you.
Go ahead, Dr. Begay.
Hello, can you hear me? I just wanted to provide some culture education regarding our holistic healing and practices through an analogy, if you can understand it in that sense, and then what we're doing as ICO going forward, which will address the issue with our teacher too. And so our holistic healing ceremonies is our own Navajo healthcare system. I would like for you to see it that way. Our medicine men are our doctors, just like Western medical doctors. They go to school and they specialize in something, right? And so they go to school for that amount of years and practice. Just like with our medicine men, they do the same thing, our medicine women. They specialize in a certain type of ailment or situation, and they become they have apprentices, mentors. They go through training too, just like our Western doctors. And so when we have situations or ailments as such, just like Western medicine has, when you go see a doctor, let's say you're sick or you have some type of ailment or disease, you go there, you begin with your triage. There's questions like, hey, this is what's going on with me. This is what's happening to me. And so the doctor's taking notes, and so do our, to come to some type of an assessment of what could be potentially your symptoms that could be a reason for this ailment or whatever. And our medicine men, our doctors do the same thing. They do diagnosis different ways, and they ask you questions to try to come up with an assessment. Once that's provided, then the doctor, Western doctor, gives you a prescription. They'll say, okay, let's have you go to do a CAT scan, MRI, blood work. And same thing with our Navajo doctors. They do the same thing. They'll give you a prescription. And so with those, they'll prescribe you medication or whatnot. So you go to the pharmacy and get that medication. And then you have that hope, belief, and faith that this medicine or this treatment will cure you, right? Same with our Navajo doctors. We have herbalists. They use our traditional plants and herbs. Those are our pharmacies. So they work hand in hand. Our Navajo doctors, they'll tell you, okay, this is my assessment of you. This is what you need. And then sometimes with these doctors, if they can't get it, they'll tell you, okay, you're going to have to see specialists, heart specialists, a internal doctor, cancer specialist. We have the same thing with our medicine men too. They're ordained in different types of ailments or events. And they don't have one standard type of ceremony. We don't. Just like these Western doctors, right? If you put like 50 brain surgeons in one room, they're not all going to do the same type of surgery the same way. That's how our Navajo medicine men are. They're ordained and trained by their mentors to do things the way they learned it. So a blessing way ceremony will be done differently. A night way ceremony can be done differently. It's how those medicine men, just like these doctors are trained differently, that's how our medicine men are. And we need to understand that, yes, there's no standard way or type of a ceremony. It's based on how these medicine men are trained in that capacity. And so in that way, I would like for you to understand it that way as an analogy of our medicine men. They are our healthcare system. It has nothing to do with anything else. That's our healthcare system. And so the other part is that, okay, this situation I was telling you about, balancing the things out, right? So another analogy is if you can see like this situation as a Western type of ailment. Let's say this situation, if you can see it like cancer, you go through aggressive treatment to kill it. But because I shared with you to balance that, you have to put that back into place. So you go into remission. Now you have to take care of yourself. You have to eat certain foods. And so that's that healing part that has been talked about. So now comes on our Western holistic part. The blessing way is what has to happen next. And so we're already talking about and planning for that to happen because this aggressive treatment already happened. So now it's in remission. The healing is starting to happen. So we have to fully put it back in peace and balance. So this blessing way, which is what it does, is to put balance back into something like that, is what our next task is. And so I just wanted to share that. And in that, it will also cover our teacher in terms of her wellness and balance too with what she's going through. And so I wanted to share that for all of you to understand and see it in that perspective with when we say ceremony, that's what we're really talking about. It's our Navajo healthcare system. We have our Navajo doctors, we have our pharmacists, we have specialized doctors in that sense. That's what ceremony is. It's holistic healing. But both sides, you have that faith and hope to get better. And so I just wanted to end with that.
Thank you, Dr. Begay, for summarizing all of that. And one last thing from Board Member Montoya.
It's on? All right. So somebody called me this morning and asked me about the convenience of time for that prayer this morning. Couldn't it have been done at a more convenient time? And I explained it very simplistically. I said, recently I've been hearing about how modern medicine talks about the early morning sunlight. It's very beneficial to the human eyes and the human body. So the first sunlight, as it breaks over the horizon, it hits you in the face and your eyes. Obviously, when it's up higher, you don't look at it directly because it can hurt your eyes, but that it's the quality of light that hits the human eyes that is the most healthiest for the human being. I said, the way that I was raised by my stepmom, who just happened to be Navajo, she would always tell us, and we tell our kids as we were raising them, you get up in the morning before the sun comes up, and you run to the east, and you reach the sun, the warmth of the sun on your body. You run barefoot, your feet on the ground, you become grounded with Mother Earth. I said, so that's the whole reason and justification of the first thing in the morning, to get that before the first light. And then the individual said, makes perfect sense. But again, everything for a purpose, everything for a reason, just as Dr. Begay says. And those are some of the very pragmatic, simplistic values and ideas that the Navajo tradition carries within that modern science is just now figuring out. So I just want people to understand that. Well, why are they done? Certain things done at a certain time. There's a reason, sense, and purpose for them. So it's just a matter of decency and respect. So again, I just wanted to let people know that, like I said, because I had somebody ask me, well, why? And again, that's the way that I was raised. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Before we move on to the next part, I like to say that thank you to all of you, everybody who's attended today, and all the comments that you have made, all the emails that you have sent. We're not just putting them aside. We're reading, and we value all your input. We value our community's input. We value all our employees, everybody's input in regards to what is with this situation. And I concur. What Shitsila said was or Shitsila or Shiyaj, or depending on on age, that things, and what Mr. Montoya also said, that things happen for a reason. Actually, everybody said that. And we have been talking about strengthening our policies and with ICO and in the district and being very inclusive. And so I like who the people have spoken. These things happen for a reason. They happen when we need to see them. And so and it's unfortunate that something like this happened for us to realize that we as a board, as a district, need to act, that we have to do something about it so it doesn't happen again. And we really appreciate the support. I hear the support. I mean, I also hear the, we should have done this sooner. I think all of us feel that way. On what today's in that case, and I think that it's the right time for us to do this, and I appreciate all the people who were involved in putting the ceremonies together, and all the prayers, and all the input, and all the hard work it took to put all these things into action. There's times that we all say it, but then it's putting those things into action and really doing it and following through. So I appreciate ICO and Mr. Brady and Mr. Keeswood and all the people that were behind the scenes that helped this come to fruition. So I so appreciate that. And before we end this part of the meeting, and before Ms. Chappelle summarizes it, and I appreciate the board for listening and really being open-minded about this. I think in the past, from what I've heard, that it hasn't always been that way, so I really appreciate the board members for sitting here, even though it's not part of your culture. I really appreciate the open-mindedness and the willingness to listen. I feel that it really has strengthened our community when all of us are on the same page. It really does strengthen our commitment, our policies, and just makes us more united. So I really do appreciate that. The willingness to learn, the willingness to practice, the willingness to be open to all these things. And I hope that in terms of inclusion, that all of our brothers and sisters from other ethnicities, background, races, all those, that understand that we are one, we're all human, and that we all have these, we have to have balance and harmony, whatever we believe in, we have to have balance and harmony. So I really appreciate that. So, I like to hand it over to Ms. Chappelle to incorporate the recommendations to draft the policy.
President Haskell, I had my hand up.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to reply to Dr. Begay, where it was mentioned about the Blessing Way ceremony, and what comes to mind is the need for a Hogan. And is this a way, maybe this opens doors to the community, and where we can provide supplies and then have the community help with building. And I think there's already a site that's already been looked at and saved for that purpose. But perhaps this is the push we need to to have this happen and be built. And And it would be just more incredible if the community could come together and you know, in the skills and the laboring and put this together and build that Hogan. And then also requests for you know, whatever donations or whatever with Intech or Navajo Nation or, you know, just, you know, other businesses. And there was another item and I just totally forgot, but yeah, I know there has been a request and a need for that Hogan. And I just want to throw that out there and see if this is something we can do and make it happen.
It's true. Okay, Ms. Chappelle.
Board members, community members, what I propose, what I recommend is to take all of the recommendations that came out today, turn that into policy, and then bring it before the board at the next meeting for the first reading. And from there, we can modify it, add to it. We'll have had enough time to kind of digest what was said today. And there may be more things that come up in between now and then that we could add. So that would be my recommendation for president and board members.
Okay. All right. We'll move on to number 3, possible action items, a potential board action on implementation plan and timeline, which would be at the next board meeting. There will be the first reading of the policy that's compiled of the recommendations that were provided this evening from the community and from ICO and Dr. Begay. And then, and please, community members, send us if there's things that, in terms of recommendations, please email them to superintendent or to, so that we can also include those recommendations. And so I will move to number 4 if there aren't any other comments or questions. Okay, Ms. Aspis has her hand up.
I have my hand up. So can I?
Yes,
may I?
go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to have superintendent and to start letting PED know what has occurred and what has happened. And whatever, you know, just get them in the loop. And where it should have, to me, I think it should have already been done. Because they're not going to understand or respect or acknowledge if our superintendent doesn't. And I don't know if there needs to be a supporting letter from the board itself attached to that, but yeah, we need to get the ball rolling in that area as well.
Thank you. And we're to, do you have something to add? Okay, we're to number 4, adjournment. A motion to adjourn the special school board meeting.
I make the motion that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, board member Montoya, how do you vote?
Yes.
Board member Aspis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Board member So, are you on?
Yes, I vote yes.
And board member Wells, how do you vote?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you. Thank you again, everybody.